big sky, big potential. In association with Mills and Reeve, this is Eastern Promise. Achieving more together. Welcome to the podcast that brings you the East of England's best and brightest, the newest and shiniest, the trailblazers, creators and paradigm busters. Welcome to Eastern Promise. I'm your host, Mike Rigby, and this week, Eastern Promise heads for the Cambridge Biomedical Campus, where we'll be hearing more about the Cambridge Cancer Research Hospital from my special guests, NHS Project Lead Dr. Hugo Ford and CEO of the charity Act for Addenbrookes, Shelly Thake. We'll discuss how this new, purpose-built facility will incorporate both treatment and research, potentially creating new research partnerships into the bargain. So join Shelly, Hugo and myself as we put the East of England at the epicentre of the fight against cancer on this week's Eastern Promise. There can be no doubt whatsoever that cancer inflicts a horrific toll. In the UK, 375,000 people are told they have cancer every year. Half of those diagnosed will die of their disease. Even for the survivors, the economic cost is high, both for them, their families, and the country at large. But in Cambridge, clinicians, fundraisers and researchers want to change the story of cancer. A new, purpose-built hospital on the already world-renowned biomedical campus will be created in partnership with patients to save more lives and push towards ever greater innovations in the care and treatment of this pernicious and implacable condition. Eager to know more and support this incredibly important endeavour, I headed for the Cambridge Biomedical Campus to chat with Dr. Hugo Young, clinical lead for the Cambridge Cancer Research Hospital and CEO of the Addenbrookes Community Trust Act for Addenbrookes, Shelly Thake. I'm here on the biomedical campus. My first visit here, can you believe that? I've been doing this since 2021. This is the first time in a non-medical capacity, I should add, that I've set foot on the biomedical campus, and it is wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be here with my two guests today, Dr. Hugo Ford and Shelly Thake. Hugo, just for the listeners at home, welcome to Eastern Promise, and just introduce yourself, and then I'm going to ask Shelly to do the same.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm Hugo Ford. I'm an oncologist here at Addenbrookes, which means I deal with cancer and cancer chemotherapy predominantly. I grew up in Cambridge, I've been here all my life, and I'm also a trustee of the Addenbrookes Charitable Trust, which Shelly is our chief executive. And for some time I've been working on this project we're about to talk about, which is development of a cancer research hospital in Cambridge, which is something that we first thought about 12 years ago, but is now coming forward and is becoming a reality.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Hugo. Shelly.
And I'm Shelly, yes, Shelly Thake. I'm the Chief Executive of Addenbrookes Charitable Trust. We are the charity for Addenbrookes and the Rosie Hospital here on Cambridge Biomedical Campus. And it's our aim to really help the hospital go over and above what the NHS funding can do by introducing new equipment, new services, new buildings, new hospitals even, for you, Hugo. So that's what we aim to do, is raise funds to help the hospital staff go even further for patients.
Now, when I sort of started looking into the material that's been put out there around the Cambridge Cancer Hospital, first of all, there's these statistics which are frankly terrifying. 1 in 2 of us will get cancer. That's the number one scary thing. But what actually gave me a lot of hope, and that's a word I hope we'll keep coming back to, is I wasn't really prepared to understand just what a big deal this hospital is. It's not just like a little part of another hospital that we're going to call a hospital. No, this is a whole brand new 7 stories. It was like 27,000 square metres? Wow. So Hugo, could you just give us an idea of from your perspective about the impact of cancer, why it's so important to treat it? So yeah, Hugo.
Well, I mean, the first thing you said, Mike, the statistics suggest that 1 in 2 of us now alive are going to get cancer at some time in our lives. That's a pretty frightening thought. More importantly, I suppose, or part of that, if you're diagnosed with cancer now, about half of people are diagnosed with higher stage cancer, so stage 3 and 4 cancer, about half with the lower stages. If you're diagnosed with stage 4 cancer now, half of those people are going to die. So it's quite a significant burden. It's a massive burden, on families and people and friends, but also economically, people's livelihoods and so on and so forth. So there is a huge burden in terms of the emotional impact, the impact on people's lives, and actually the impact on the country. And as we get older, it's getting worse. And the cost of treating cancer, I think it's something like £18 billion in the UK this year. That also is rising exponentially. So we have a very big problem. But there is some good news about it. And some of the work that we've done here in Cambridge, for example, suggests that for many cancers, there's a big window when you can detect them, before they're detectable currently and before they manifest themselves as cancer. And that is an opportunity for us to intervene, to treat them earlier and to treat them better. And we know that if you're diagnosed with a stage 1 or 2 cancer, the cost of treating it is 1/10 of the cost of treating a more advanced cancer, and the chance of cure is 95% instead of 5%. And that's the goal that we're trying to achieve. We're quite a long way from it, as the figures I said at the beginning will tell you, but what we're really focusing on with this project, and we'll talk a bit more about it in a minute, is how we can bring the huge academic resources in Cambridge to focus on the key questions. How do you diagnose cancer earlier, and how do you treat it better? And that's what this building is all about.
This is wonderful. Shelly, do you want to just talk perhaps about the origins of ACT, the Addenbrookes Charitable Trust, and just tell us a bit more about what's proposed here?
Yeah, of course. So Addenbrookes Charitable Trust, historically, philanthropy's always played a part in Addenbrookes. The first ever hospital was made possible due to a Dr. John Addenbrooke leaving money in his will back in 1766. So philanthropy has always played a huge part in hospital care, because people are so grateful, and when we're grateful for things, we want to give back, and that typically is what happens. So the hospital charity has been going for a number of years. It's our 30th birthday this year, so
well, happy birthday.
Thanks very much. And over that time we've raised over hundreds of millions of pounds in terms of our support for the hospital and what's been made possible. So in terms of the Cancer Research Hospital, here we will have a hospital that will integrate both the clinical and the research together, and it will enable the patients, the clinicians, the researchers to really work faster at this early detection and also treating better. And I think that what the hospital enables us to do is focus on cancer under one roof instead of across the whole estate that we have that is Addenbrookes. And anyone who's listening that's been here will understand that the estate is both old but very vast as we've grown and we've built different parts on. So having cancer mostly relocated in this space with the researchers is going to be very important to patient care and also patient outcomes. So from a charity's perspective, it is our absolute pleasure to raise money to make this hospital a reality. It's an absolute imperative that we support the clinicians and the teams who are driving for this new hospital to make it a reality, because as Hugo says, the statistics are very stark. 1 in 2 of us will get cancer, and at the moment 50% of those individuals are diagnosed far too late. They're then faced with horrific choices about their care and the treatment patterns, and we see all too often our friends and and family members suffer greatly through this awful disease, and if we can help the researchers and the clinicians take all of their learnings and fast forward to a place where cancer is no longer as troublesome as it is to us all today, then I think all the better for it. And what a better role the charity could play. I couldn't think of a better role for us to play.
Hugo, you've got quite the alliance, the alignment, the grouping of various heavy hitters from the Cambridge ecosystem, pulling all together, and that's a very Cambridge thing, to have the shoulders jointly to the wheel, as it were, for this effort. And I just wanted to ask you to just reflect on how that's worked out and how that will work out going forward, and perhaps expand that in a bit to look at other hospitals in the east of England and other research institutes in the east of England that also have, I'm thinking primarily, and I've warned them I'm going to say this, of the Quadram Institute in Norwich that looks at bowel cancers and so on.
Well, I think what we're trying to do, and this is across the east of England, not just in Cambridge, but what's the joy of this will be if it comes together as we hope, is we're trying to take people who may have brilliant minds, but they're focused on different problems, and say, actually, we want you to focus on this particular problem, the problem of cancer. And the advantage of Cambridge and the university and the ecosystem around Cambridge is that we have an awful lot of brilliant people around, and they are in biomedicine, but they're in engineering, materials science, they're in physics, chemistry, structural biology, all these disciplines. And some of these you think, well, what's that got to do with cancer? But I'll give you an example. We've had a very good collaboration with the University Department of Astronomy because they have the best image analysis software that you can get. So looking at something very small is the same challenge really as looking at something a long way away. So you can get those sorts of synergies in Cambridge that are actually very difficult to get in other places, and certainly other places with a cancer focus. So if we've got wonderful cancer hospitals in the UK, the Royal Marsden, the Christie, for example, but they only treat people with cancer, and they haven't got the same links with the sort of broader universities that we have. And similarly, Norwich is a fantastic ecosystem, particularly around plant science, and the science in Norwich around plant science is outstanding and internationally brilliant. And therefore it's entirely logical that they would be interested in, particularly, the impact on what we eat and the gut and the microbiome, the bacteria in our gut, and therefore bowel cancer. And they've got a fantastic institute, the Quadram Institute, which, as you know, you've probably visited it. It is a brilliant new facility dedicated to investigation of bowel cancer and drawing on the particular strengths that there are in Norwich. We're trying to do that in Cambridge, and we have different and distinct strengths, but they're actually quite complementary.
I always come back to that word.
Yeah, so if you look across the east of England, it's a fabulous opportunity for the whole region, provided we can make it all link up together.
I think you do want, I'm a very strong advocate of the theory that you put your strongest team on a problem like this. You don't put the team in a particular, just because they're in a particular place. You bring together your strongest team where they can do the best work from wherever they're from. And I'm a bit of a heretic when it comes to not worrying too much about administrative boundaries. But Shelly,
I have something to say on that point.
Please do.
Let me, because Professor Richard Gilbertson, who is also working on this project, often talks about the fact that the NHS is many component parts. So one thing that works in one hospital might not work in another one. And what we're trying to do in Cambridge is make sure that we make something that is a standard size that fits all. And I don't think it's about competing. I think it is about enhancing the cancer research story, enhancing cancer care, and enabling something that then goes on to have lasting effect in other places. So I do understand that people will think we mention the word Cambridge a lot. It's unfortunate the hospital's called Cambridge Cancer Research Hospital, because that makes us say the word Cambridge many times. But this is a hospital not just for the east of England. I strongly believe, and from everything that I hear and read about this hospital, working with the colleagues on it, that this is something that will translate into many different places in terms of the findings minds and the great minds that will work on this together. And I think that those great minds will come from lots of different places too.
Globally.
Is that fair to say, Hugo?
No,
Can
that's
I
right.
say that?
And for example, one of the institutes, and we haven't really talked about what's going in here, but one of the institutes that we're talking about is an Institute for Integrated Cancer Medicine. We already have people working in that field, and in fact, the two of our best people come from CERN. In Switzerland, the particle accelerator, Large Hadron Collider, and so they're physicists and they've been working there. But actually, they're applying their knowledge and their skills to some of the problems that we're seeing in cancer and identifying changes in cancer molecules and so on at an earlier stage. So absolutely, one of the great advantages of Cambridge is it does attract brilliant people from all around the place. And we have to focus them on what we want them to focus on, not what they want to do.
That's the trick, isn't it? That's the trick. Yes, that's nice, but can we do this now? No, I mean, it's a brand. It is a brand, and it also gives you the name Cambridge gives you a head start on a particular narrative, which is so important. I mean, Shelly, to that point, I mean, Hugo, I'll come to you in a minute about what's actually going inside, but tell us about how you and ACT are fundamental in kind of crafting the narrative around this hospital.
So I can talk to the donors who have supported us thus far. I think there are a number of individuals who recognise how strong the vision is for this, have huge confidence in the leadership who are behind this, but also the kind of breakthrough of all of those great minds that Hugo talks about. And I think when you don't work in the NHS, it's sometimes very hard to imagine why this research piece is so important. But for me, having come from another industry into the NHS, it was light bulb moments going off when I started to learn more about all of the research that goes on here. And I think every single day, staff within the NHS are researching and innovating to make things better for their patients. So one of the jobs of us as a charity is to help ensure that the messages that we are hearing from the scientists, the clinicians, are translated into real terms that individuals can understand on a day-to-day basis. So the critical thing is that we could just build a box that is a hospital, and it could be very vanilla in its outlook, but that probably wouldn't progress the research that needs to happen, or it wouldn't enable some of the more holistic care that's required for our cancer patients. And that's what we at the charity are looking to do, is to make sure that there is the funding to enable this to be more than that vanilla box, but to be that special hospital of research and care for patients.
Well, I think that's important, because when you sort of fetch up at, and we'll come on to it, there is a beautiful model of the hospital on this desk, how it's going to look. But when you fetch up, you don't want a vanilla box, because that feels cold and clinical, which is not what you want somebody in that sort of frame of mind, frightened to be feeling. You want them to come to somewhere that's warm, welcoming, more, futuristic, I dare say. So you've got that hope. This is a place where my best chance is in this building, and I'm comfortable here. I feel amongst friends and amongst people who will do their absolute level best. I'm not saying that they wouldn't in a vanilla box, but that surrounding, I think, plays a huge role in making people feel at ease. And talking about the surrounding, let's Hugo and Shelly, please feel free to jump in as and when you want, but talk us through what's going inside.
Well, I'm just on what you've just been saying. I think that's absolutely right, and we've talked a lot about the research side of things, but this ultimately is a hospital, and it's a hospital where people will come to receive treatment for cancer. And environment is hugely important, and one of the things I'm really proud about is that right from the very initial concept side, we have been designing this with patients right at the heart of it. So every single committee, every single decision that's made has patient involvement, and in fact they've been very vocal in terms of shaping the way that we've designed the building. So I mean that's actually a first for us at Addenbrookes, I think, really, certainly in terms of the depth of involvement. So what's going in? Essentially, it's, as you said at the beginning, it's 7 floors. There will be 4 floors of hospital, if you like, which will be a sort of ground floor, which will have an imaging centre and a variety of, sort of support services and so on, pharmacy and so on. The first floor, which will be outpatients, large number of outpatient facilities. Then the second floor, which is going to be largely sort of day case treatment, chemotherapy, and other novel treatments, as well as a sort of small emergency department. And then we will also have inpatient wards for haematology, teenagers and young adults with cancer, for transplantation and cellular therapies, and for oncology, so 4 inpatient wards. And then in terms of the other people on site in the building, there will be, hopefully as planned at the moment, 3 university institutes, an institute for integrated cancer medicine, and this is really about big data and integrating large data sets to find some of those answers that we were talking about. An institute for early cancer detection, and that's something that's already off the ground and is active in one of the other buildings on campus, and they will have as it were, a clinical arm which will move into the Cancer Research Hospital, and that is all about identifying new devices, techniques and ways to identify cancer early, and that is probably the single most important thing we can do in terms of shifting the dial on survival from cancer. And then an Institute for Breast Cancer, Precision Breast Cancer Institute, which is about really sort of more accurate treatment, treating people better and more precisely. There also will be scientists from AstraZeneca in the building, and that's where we are at the moment. So a combination of industrial partners, AstraZeneca, university staff, and NHS staff, all working together in the interests of the patients.
And a number of bedrooms all of the bedrooms will be en suite, won't they?
So they're all single beds. There'll be 77 beds in total. They're all single beds. They're all with en suite bathrooms. So it'll be a rather different experience than what our patients get at the moment.
Yeah, and that's one of the critical things that the patients have advocated for is the space that people have to go through their treatment with, I guess, dignity and...
Yes, and there's a balance there because some people like being in a space with other people, but on the vast majority of people that we speak to, the importance of dignity and of privacy and actually of comfort, does outweigh that. And one of the tricks we have to work through is actually how you can give people a sense of being not alone while in a single room.
I mean, you sort of remind me of my mentor. I posted about him on LinkedIn, who had prostate cancer and who sadly passed away a couple of years ago now, and going to sort of see him in Beccles Hospital at the end of his life was I don't want to say difficult experience because so many people have gone through that. To have something, this new kind of hopeful development is truly, truly wonderful. So, talking time frame, which I know there's been a kind of a slight bump in the road, but that sounds like that's behind us all now. Can I throw this one? I'll throw this one to the floor, and whoever wants to jump on this, they can. Realistically, what are we, I mean, in terms of breaking ground, in terms of the topping out, and in terms of sort of the first job ads starting to go for...
Right. If you look out the window, actually, you probably will see a man with a van just beginning to start breaking the ground. So does
he have a name?
Well, we have contractors, R.G. Carter, who are coming in there doing the archaeology.
Yes.
So they are doing the archaeology for us, so they are basically going to be preparing the site, putting up hoardings and so on, and doing the basic groundworks that we need to do to start with. In the meantime, we are going through the final process of the sort of Treasury business case. That will take us about a year to complete. So we're hoping to submit that, have it ready for submission anyway in the summer. It will be submitted hopefully to the Treasury towards the autumn of this year. It will probably take them 3 months to approve it. So we're hoping at the beginning of next year to get the final go-ahead, and that is the sort of time which, assuming no further delays, you would start to see building happening on the site. The building will take probably a couple of years to build, and then sometime to commission. We're hoping that the first patient will come in about 2029, early 2029.
That is really impressive. considering the number of public works in this country that have gone not according to plan, but 2029 seems to me, and I don't know much, but I do know that sounds impressive, and it's all testament to you both. And just before we move on to the last question, I had it in my mind now, and now it's vanished, so I'm going to have to edit this bit. Oh, it's gone. This happens far too often. The thought was, given there's a lot of our MPs in this region are new, we've got, and I think the Bury St Edmunds MP is a clinician himself, so I think this is a fantastic opportunity for them to badger the Treasury while they're in the voting lobbies, badgering the Treasury ministers and making sure this gets done with as much speed as can be mustered, because this is important for the nation, it's important for the region, it's important for Cambridge, and it's important for the world. We really do want people getting on planes, coming here and bringing their best work to help crack this problem, because cancer doesn't care what colour your passport is. This is such a wonderful project. I mean, we've got the model. I'm assuming this is the model sitting in front of us.
That is the model.
That is the model. We've got this fantastic model sitting in front of us. For people listening to this all across the east of England, the UK, and we do in fact have listeners all around the world, what can they do to support this project? Because, as we've said already, the chances of them being affected by cancer, either directly or indirectly, are frighteningly high. So what are the things that people can do to help get this fantastic project going?
Well, I think the point to make here is probably what we've said earlier, is that the good news about the project so far is that the government and the New Hospitals Programme are going to fund the basic NHS part of the hospital, which is fantastic, and that means it is going to happen, it's going to get off the ground. But if it's going to deliver the things that we really wanted to do in terms of shifting the dial on early detection, shifting the dial on precision cancer medicine, and actually making it more than just a basic hospital, something that's the best environment we possibly can to be treated, we still do have a significant fundraising effort that we need to get through. So, Shelly can talk to that, but really we're very keen for people to support us in terms of helping us with the fundraising and just raising awareness of the project as well.
Shelley, that sounds like a cue for you to tell us how you at ACT are driving forward this fantastic project.
Yes, we're very lucky. We have a campaign board formed of volunteers who are helping us. They're introducing us to many of their contacts. We're working across a number of corporate organisations through a variety of industries to identify corporate support, individual support. But predominantly, I think that this hospital really plays into the hearts and minds of all people across the east of England, because we all know someone who has been impacted by cancer, and we all want better outcomes for our friends and our families and people who we hear about. And I think what this cancer research hospital will do, not just for the east of England but for us generally as a population, is provide us with hope that the research is right at the clinical bedside, that we're understanding this disease in a way that we can eradicate it from impacting on the lives that it's impacting on.
I think that's a fantastic, a really wonderful point to make, and hope is such a key thing, that having the right narrative and giving people hope of a better, healthier future where cancer is not the dread killer that it currently is. And has been for many years, is something we all should row behind and support. Can I just ask, this is not the throwing down of a gauntlet. Are you running anything in this hospital, or are any of your team running any kind of lengthy marathon-y type of thing for the hospital?
We will be running lots of different things. One of the first things that we're doing is we're supporting over 200 runners in the Cambridge Half Marathon on the 9th of March, Sunday the 9th of March. There'll be a sea of ACT tops, which will be all of our runners who are running in support of the Cancer Research Hospital. So, that's one of the ways that people can support this project. There's a whole host of different activities that are going on. As I say, this does capture the hearts and minds of all of our supporters. It captures the hearts and minds of our patients who are currently going through their own cancer journey in the hospital. And people fundraise for us in lots of different ways, lots of creative ways. We have great stories of patients who, recognise that their care has only been made possible because the charity at some point in the future supported research or supported pieces of kit and equipment. So I would say, throwing back the gauntlet, if I may, Mike, that what the public could do, what the listeners of this podcast could do, is think creatively about ways in which they would like to raise money to support this, or whether or not they have friends, colleagues who might want to jump on bikes, do long walks, go running, swim, all of those very sporty and healthy activities, but also other things that capture the imagination. Some people give us gifts instead of having birthday gifts. Some people give us gifts instead of having wedding anniversary gifts. Some people win the lottery and may share some of their funds. We're open to people supporting this hospital in any way that they feel is possible. And I think, as Hugo said, what we'd really encourage people to do is talk about it. The East of England has the opportunity to do something really spectacular to change the story of cancer. Let's bring this cancer research hospital here. Let's make it a strong, positive hospital that encourages people's well-being, encourages their recovery from cancer, and enables the researchers, the clinicians, the mathematicians, the engineers, all the people that will work together to change the story of cancer, to do a great job and to really build a more hopeful future for our children and all of the generations that will follow, to not actually have to deal with cancer. So please, anyone listening, if you want to support Addenbrookes Charitable Trust with the Cancer Research Hospital, you can go online to our website, you can call the office. The website is Act for Addenbrookes, that's ACT, the letter, the number even, for Addenbrookes, ADDENBROOKES.org.uk. So that's ACT, the number 4, addenbrooks.org.uk, and we would really appreciate any support. There's links on the website to how you can support the Cancer Hospital. There's links to our fundraising team who can help you get as creative as you like to raise your money, and there's lots of ways that you can be involved. There are lots of other things that you can find out about the charity through the website. Pop into the ACT Charity Hub opposite A&E if you're on the campus. My team will always be happy to meet. We love meeting supporters. We love meeting patients of the hospital. We love hearing stories, and particularly stories where we've been involved in some small way in delivering impact to those patients.
That's absolutely fantastic. Well, I don't know if people still sit in baths and beans, but that might be something to do. What colour will your tops be?
The tops are a yellow and blue kind of mix going on.
Well, that's what you should keep an eye out for. Hugo, Shelly, thank you very much indeed.
My huge thanks to Hugo and Shelly for their incredibly valuable time. It is unquestionably a matter of great, great pride that the East of England will be home to one of the globe's preeminent centres of excellence in fighting cancer, bringing new and much-needed hope across the UK and around the world. To find out more, visit cambridgecancer.org.uk, and also Act for Addenbrookes. That's 4 as in the number 4, actforaddenbrooks.org.uk. And that's all there is for this edition of the Eastern Promise podcast. I have been Mike Rigby, and will be so again next week, when we shall head for the City of Stories to hear from the Norwich Business Improvement District about their city centre manifesto. I'll be joined by the Norwich Bid's Executive Director, Stefan Gurney, and board member Joe Faulkner, also of KPMG. That's coming up in but 7 short days, so until then, bye for now. To hear other episodes of the Eastern Promise podcast, and to find out more about what we do, go to our website at easternpromise.org.uk. Eastern Promise is a Pudding Shed production in proud association with Mills & Reeve. Achieving more together.